here with Vernie Clement. He's an employee here at TRU, the Aboriginal Mentorship Coordinator. And I'm here to interview him for the Chinook Scholars and ask him some questions about Aboriginal leadership. So, Vernie, what does Aboriginal leadership mean to you, meaning purpose and difference between Aboriginal leadership and Canadian leadership styles?
Well, I think for me, leadership, I think in terms of community, and that's what I think the biggest difference is Aboriginal leadership functions within its community really well, and so building community is important to me. So when I'm talking about the mentorship program or any other kind of things I get involved in, it's important to know who you're working with and the people that that are there for a reason, and that they have different skills and unique abilities. So you try to recognize that and use that as best they can. So I think that's what the difference is to me. Like when I think of leadership, it's involved in all aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts off when there are kids, all the way until we have elders. We usually have elders around, so they play an important function as well. And them sharing their knowledge and being really generous in with what they know to the young people, and then as guiding people if they choose to ask for that, and if they need it. So I think for me, that'll be the main difference between, I think, we talk about other leadership styles, is the purpose of it, and it's more part of the community rather than as the one single person leading out. You know what I mean? On the day-to-day level, anyways, there's all different types of leaderships. I think there's some places have traditional leaderships or hereditary, where they are trained, from conception all the way on. And then there's other places where, as a person develops, you recognize their abilities, and then they have a real desire or ability that they wanna, that is really unique for them, and that's recognized, and then also they gain status that way. Anyways, that's how it was. I believe in our stories back home is that you don't have to be born into it, but if you're really proficient at hunting or whatever you do, and then people recognize that, then it's and so anytime there was something that be going on, they needed somebody to lead that, they'd come and ask you. Yeah, and it wasn't self-proclaimed. It was always by the community that recognized that, right? So nobody goes around telling who they are unless it's comes from the people. So
Okay, thank you. How do you maintain your cultural values while working in a Canadian institution?
That's always been a struggle. I was worried about that when I first left my home community. So I think being connected to my language was really important to me when I first left. And so when I moved over here, I really wanted to move in with somebody who at least spoke my language and understood. That's how I felt comfortable growing up. So that was my connection to my own cultural identity. And I never forget who I am and where I'm from. When I introduce people, I always say connection back home. So I always say where I'm from. I'm Dene, but I'm doing this kind of work here. And so I think that's been probably one of the things that grounded me. And then not to say that I don't learn other protocols and stuff, like where I'm from. I try to understand what's going on and try to be respectful as best I can, because I represent my family and my community back home. So I try to hold myself up for them, and so that's kind of where I think that's where it sometimes comes in conflict with when you gotta sing. So when you're doing work here, you have to approach it in a way that it's really respectful respectful too, because the people that we work with may not know a lot about who we are, and maybe that the differences between that there's how many different Indigenous nations within BC alone, you know, and a lot of people don't recognize that diversity exists.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping that in mind, so having your own cultural awareness, you know, not only within where you're from and neighboring nations, but also with other, you know, Canadian nations, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of immigrants coming to Canada as well. So with that, they bring their own culture and their own knowledge from. So when you're working with them, I think going through a business degree kind of really helped me understand the culture behind, you know, some of the things that they're asking when it comes time for like putting on our cultural events or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was like why has to be this record keeping and, you know, paying people in checks and all this stuff. Like there's a lot of processes involved, and you know, having a business background and you know, knowing that how to treat, you know, how to be respectful of the elders and dancers and regalia and ceremonies, you know, trying to find that balance, and so that we're not being disrespectful to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's how do I find it? It's just being patient and getting to know the people that you work with a little better, and so you understand their story and where they're from, so you know how to work with them and what their knowledge base is at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you just gotta assume that they may not know anything about it. That's where you start.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. My next question: how do you see Aboriginal leadership being effective in today's society?
I think it's being effective. It worked. You know, people have been on this land in this area for thousands of years, and the leadership styles we developed were very unique, I guess, in a lot of cases to all the different people, and I think it functioned well, but in terms of today's society, we have a clash of people and cultures coming together, and there's not going to be one way that fits for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the unique aspects of, I think, Indigenous leaderships is sometimes we have circles and sharing circles, and in that sense, people come together as equals. And when you start off with respect like that, you can build on that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, one of the elders here, Uncle Mike, tell us that, you know, we've been living here together for 500 years, going on 500 plus years. Maybe it's about time we get to know one another.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's the kind of what we talk about, reconciliation, and ties into everything. You know, we're just trying to get to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that'll be a great benefit for all people to understand the different types of leadership out there, and having respect for elders and for stories, legends, you know, cultural things that have been around for a long time. You know, if we don't hold those sacred or whatever, it's going to be a sad day when we don't have those anymore for the next generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know. I think there's enough room in this world for all types of leaderships and people out there. So I think it could have its benefits, and maybe doing business in a better way in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because a lot of from our area anyways, a lot of it was based on generosity, how much you gave, and that's what determines your status in the nation, right, or amongst your people. And so there's a reverse where, you know, modern society right now is all about the, you know, holding on, gathering, and you know, like it's almost like selfish, you know, it was about the individual versus, you know, not about the people.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where a good learning can happen, is when we switch the roles, when we start giving back, being generous, I think.
Mm-hmm. Start thinking more about our community rather than our own individual selves.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's where there's a big learning to happen.
for you is, what do you think is the best way to combine the Canadian thinking with the traditional teachings when acting as a leader?
I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier about, coming together as equals, having respect, when you understand each other a lot better, that's when you become, friends. You can work a lot better with somebody who's like that versus adversarial, or else, trying to put things one-on-one. You start off at equal way, move forward like that. I think that it becomes a more effective way to do business, and in all senses, and I think that's where the main thing again comes at, is that the idea of respect and having, starting off on an equal and fair basis rather than having somebody's coming with their titles and everything like that. That could cause a lot of tension, and I don't know, it's hard to do business, hard to do work with somebody if that's the attitude they take, Yeah.
Help people to understand that at the end of the day you're still both human beings.
Yeah. We start off as human beings, and we work from there. I think that's all the time we try to approach somebody, no matter who it was. I always try to find what's my connection to this person, what is my relationship, whether it be family ties, whether it be through mutual acquaintances, whether it's from a certain area, even a city. There's always something, a piece of land, some way that we connect, and then that's what we build on.
Okay.
And then if you try to understand that in terms of respect, and you start to, hopefully that's reciprocated, right? And
Yeah.
you get that as well, and so they connect to you and what you're doing, and so.
So they can better understand where you're coming from, and you understand them.
Yeah, and then that might make the working conditions a little easier.
Yeah.
You have that relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's the same with working with students too. Like, you always try to do that and see where their strengths are that way too as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Alright.
That's my take on Aboriginal leadership.
Well, the Chanao, yeah.